Hello, welcome to a Newbury preview. We're going to be covering Friday. We're going to have a quick look at Saturday as well, see how popular this is, and we may possibly spoil you with a specific Saturday recording again tomorrow. We might look at the Irish race in the weekend. If no one's really watching this, then we're not going to waste our time with you no Mars. Basically, I've got Daryl Carter back, so that's a big win. Thank you, Daryl, for joining me. How are you?
All right, mate. How the devil are you? It's been a long day, but it's going to be even longer now. Is that with you? But yeah, no.
I mean, I feel the same in terms of a long day. I'm just running on energy with the fact that Danny Whizbang is actually going to run in the Hennessy.
What price you on?
I mean, it's not even massive prices. 25s I got involved a long time ago, and then when he went out to 33s after the Badger Beers, I had a bit more on then. Then I got a couple of bits that's slightly big on the exchanges, but at those prices, you don't need much on to be in for a few quid. And at least we're going to get a run for our money. I mean, he's probably not going to win it, but we'll save that for when we start looking at Saturday. I did put up something on the Facebook page, knowing that the people have been, I mean, I get messages worrying about you, wondering why we're not doing stuff together, etc., etc. So I've asked them a few questions. People have got some stuff. We've got a few questions that have come in. Some of them will be easier to talk about as we come to the races. I'm going to quickly just skim through them now and see which ones we can answer beforehand and which ones we'll leave. So Michael Walker, if Envoy wins this weekend, not if, but he does, how much of a price change do you think would occur? Currently 2-1. He's considering a hefty double with Shishkin. It is a two-part question. The next part about Paisley Park we'll cover later on. So, he's going to shorten, isn't he?
It depends. Yes, he will short it. He will every run from now on. He will just clip in a half a point or even a point. It depends how impressive he is. It depends who stands up in the Drimore as well. Gordon's got four of the 7 entries in there, so it depends who he runs against. But yeah, I mean, he's 2-1 now. You're just going to ask yourself, really, is he going to be 2-1 on the day? Never mind after Sunday. Exactly. Definitely not. I think the pair, Shishkin and Envoy, are going to be like the bookie bashing double, if you like. On the day, they're probably going to both go odds on. They're probably going to rack up a lot of liabilities from now until then. I'm surprised he's still 2-1, to be fair. If he goes out and he's impressive in this, really, regardless of what he beats, I think everybody's just going to be focused on how he jumps, how he's quick away from fences, how easily he's doing things. I mean, this is obviously a grade 1, but when your trainer's got 4 of the 7 entries, I think they're looking at trying to give him another easy task. Yes, short answer, he probably will shorten. It wouldn't surprise me to see him around 7-4. Same thing that Shishkin. I mean, Shishkin beat Mick Pastor, and Mick Pastor wasn't even given a run there, was he? So, and he shortened right up from 5-2 to 7-4. So I do expect him to shorten probably in a 7-4 again. I don't think we'll see 2-1 again after. I think even if he looks good in this race on Sunday, and God forbid it doesn't happen, and he falls at the last, or I think even then, even if he looks like he was going to win, he's still going to shorten. So yeah, if you want to do the double, I would suggest taking the 2-1 and the 7-4 just get down and doing it. There's no point in waiting around.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I feel like, like you say, 7-4, probably might even go 6-4-ish. Like you say, probably around about half a point. The key thing is with these horses, both Envoy and Shishkin, they look like bankers this far out. They are just going to dwindle every time they run, like Daryl said. Yeah. There's no point waiting for them to get beat to try and look for some value, because if they get beat, you're going to have a negative against them and you're going to change your thought process on it. These sort of horses, lots of people would have been on in the summer. If you're not already on, get the double in. The fact you've used the words hefty in with your double, I would just reiterate what I say about every year with the anti-post punting. Look, the majority of your stakes, from my perspective, the best way to do it, the majority of your stakes need to be singles. Obviously, when these two are getting short now, you have to just look at them as probably one entity, if that's the way that you want to play it. But you just can't really go over the top with it. I remember a good few years ago when we were going through like a real purple patch with the festival. And we're making money every year, but there was a real good patch. And one of my mates was sat having a curry and he said, look, you need to give me 2 bankers for Cheltenham. I think this was around Christmas-ish time we talked about it. And I just said, Forheen will win the champion hurdle and Duvan will win the champion chase. Neither of them even got to the festival. And it was value at the time that I said it because they were due to run at Christmas. The price did shorten up, but he didn't put the bet on because he asked me to do it. He tried to give me the £500 cash, 2 days to even go to the betting shop. So he saved himself. But all I mean is, it's risky multiples this far out because one can cost you the value in the other. So by all means, back him before he runs because he's only going to get shorter. But I'd just be worried about how hefty you go on that pair because there's obviously risks attached with it. But hey, do what you want. It's your money. Please gamble responsibly. Thoughts on Mr. Malarkey? This is from Matty Luke for the Ladbrokes Trophy. Ran 6th in it last year. Same prep race as last year. Capable on his day. Sitting on a 50-1 anti-post with Paddy Power, paying first 5 each way. So you've beaten the price there, Matty. I kind of half liked him for the race last year. Feel like that's as good as he was going to be. I'm very blinkered in this race because it's Danny Whizbang moment, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, you've beaten the price, so you can't argue that. And the fact that if you've got the each way first 5 of them, fair play to you, 10-1 a place. I feel like this year's renewal looks like you wouldn't be surprised with almost any horse that wins it. What do you make of it, Daryl?
Yeah, no, that's really the way I feel about it. I've looked at it bloody hell every day this week, and I'm still a little bit undecided. I'm waiting to see headgear goes on, etc. In terms of Mr. Malarkey, yeah, he ran a cracker last year to finish 6th. I think, is this a stronger race this year? Perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. 50-1's a fantastic price about Mr. Malarkey. He's obviously been aimed at a race. 50-1 about any horse that's been targeted for a race. You know, you're laughing there. So be happy with that, Christ. But in terms of the winner, I would be disappointed if Mr. Malarkey was to win this, if I'm going to be honest with you. But, you know, he does tick a lot of boxes. I'm not sure how many winners in the last 10 years have ran in the race the year before. Do you know? Would you have that on air? I don't think got beat in the race the year before and then won next year.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I did do some work on it before. I can't remember which way it swung, whether it was that important or it wasn't. All that I know, I've backed horses that have run in it before and they haven't done me a favour, but whether that's I don't know. I don't know is the answer to that. But yeah, you're on a decent point, mate, and I think the ground this year will probably be better for him as well. And like like Daryl says.
Oh no! Hold on! What is this? What are you doing, Matt?
But I think it is a competitive race this year. I've gone really red. It is a competitive race this year. Probably more so than last year. I feel like last year was maybe a classier race. This year's probably more competitive. I feel like on balance, Mr. Malarkey's got as much of a chance as he had last year, if not a tiny bit more. So fair play, boy. Cormac Flanagan, in the last 22 years, only 2 horses have won the Hennessy off a mark of 160 or higher. Denman and who was the other one? I wanted to say Tidal Bay, Toff something. I'm sure it's the T in it. I should know this on the top of my head. Anywho, these were Denman and Bobsworth. No, there's another one that won off a top weight that wasn't Bobsworth, who were obviously both Gold Cup winners. Does this stat mean that Vindications no chance on Saturday? Yes, correct, Cormac. Got no chance. That schooling that he did at the Newbury day as well. I know Kim Bailey sent some footage up after. He felt the need to show everyone that it could jump straight. But Jesus, that jumping was horrific. You like this horse, didn't you, Daryl? You put him up as like a lively outsider for Gold Cup after his Ascot performance last year. Do you think that he is caught between Handicap and Grade 1 horse, or do you think he's got a chance?
No, I think he's definitely a graded horse. Definitely a graded horse. You don't get a rating of 161 unless you're thrown on and still running Handicap, really. Look, I think he's got a good chance. Obviously, the stat is a killer. It'll put anyone off this race, but I think he's worth upgrading his Charlie Hall chase effort. That's for sure. He's had a tendency to do this throughout his career. He hits the top of fences, so you don't really want him running a track that's got real stiff fences. He clips the top and it just loses his momentum. He can lose lengths at his fences. That's why I didn't fancy him for the Ultimate Handicap last year at Cheltenham, because the hustle and bustle of a big handicap, I just felt he's going to lose too much ground, make too many mistakes at the fences. And I think that's might be the same issue this year with this. I do think he's a graded horse, though, and the amount of ground he lost at Weatherby behind Cernam, and still, I know Cernam did it fairly easy, but he still beat Right, and that would put me off Right, if I'm being honest. If a horse is hitting that many fences and losing that much ground, I'm talking he was losing at least half a length, 3/4 of a length on occasions. He lost a length at the first fence, and he's losing that sort of ground at those fences. And Right had a pretty much clear out, bar maybe one mistake, if I remember rightly. But Vindication was still pulling away from him at the finish. So I do think you can upgrade the effort of Vindication at Weatherby. In terms of this race, I'm not a massive fan of seeing him in a handicap carrying this much weight, and clipping those fences. That's why last year I put him up for an outside chance of the Gold Cup as opposed to the hustle and bustle for handicap. Look, he's a very, very good horse. He's only 7. He's got time on his side. He could well go and do this. He is the class act in the field. I don't want to be with him on this occasion, if I'm being honest. And I definitely don't want to be high rate.
I'll agree. And Cormac, sorry, I sort of misread the facts you put in there. He was saying about horses that have won the Hennessy off a mark of 160 or higher, not referring to the top bit. Treborgan was the other top weighter in there. But you are right, Cormac, mate. At the end of the day, real good horses come in here. We don't have that many of them that do, and that many that come here and do very well out of it. So, yeah,
I mean that we should just mention that stats aren't there to be broken. Stats are just stats. They don't always fall in line every single year. You look at like Frodon carrying top weights in big handicaps like that. He's only a little horse,
And this is the sort of time where it could potentially change, couldn't it? I definitely just feel with Vindication that schooling at Newbury, you'd be balmy to be backing him at the price that he is off the back of that.
Yeah, I mean, if he's jumping out right like that, I mean, you're going to be losing even more ground. If he's jumping out right and clipping the top fences, Christ, you're in trouble. But yeah, it was strange that he felt the need to put that video up and be schooling afterwards, wasn't it? I think he was almost like, no, he has got a good chance. Look,
yeah.
He can do
what got to prove? Like, just save it for the day. You don't need to do it, do you? So I feel like he put that out because he was trying to convince himself, make himself feel better about it. Anyway, next question. Richard Shaw, judge, mate. So whatever you put in here is going to be decent. He likes Coeur de Lion, 10-1 in Friday's handicap hurdle. Lost his way a little bit last winter, yeah. Proved at the summer, won at Ascot, didn't he? Yeah. Fitted with cheek pieces. Course will suit. He's ran to marks a good deal higher than 131. He's off. The problem with that race is I haven't even looked into too much depth, but I think there's one that's like well in, isn't there?
£10 well in.
Hill 16, isn't it?
Yeah,
so yeah, that'll put me off slightly. We'll make sure we definitely cover that, Richard, when we look at that race. But yeah, I can see your angle in there with it. I'm not an each way player, so as much as he could be value for that sort of bet, yeah. Michael's giving down another dig about the run you're on. Tongue in cheek effect. Well, exactly. You're not going running anywhere, are you?
You cheeky kid.
Oh, no, so
what run?
It's because we've just recorded a Colossus preview for Newbury, and because we like to try and give them something that's worth editing and cutting, we try and just give each other abuse for the sake of it. Normally, we're not like this. I don't know why I've still got some stuff lined up. I'll stop saying it. We'll move on to nice comments. Patrick Williams, on this side, who's the 3 horses to keep an eye on at Newbury? And then from the handicap spear, is there any blots you spotted for Friday, Saturday cards? So we'll cover them, Patrick, as we come through the race, because there are some nice novices to keep an eye on. More so for Saturday, I feel, but there's definitely one on the Friday first race. Linda Sacra, but you don't need me to tell you that. Harry Sutton, who's your fancy for the stayers? I'm with Time Hill and then to back up at Cheltenham too. We will cover that when we come to it. Lewis Morgan, do you think McFabulous is a contender for the stayers? Worth putting up an anti-post bet before Friday's race? Do you think he'll be okay with 3 miles? We will cover that again when we come to the Stayers race. Daryl can go first on that. John Biff Huston. I've never blocked anyone on the Cheltenham Mental page, but I feel like John Biff Huston, I don't even know if I'm saying your surname right, and I don't even care for the comment you put in here. Paisley Park, surely a lay on Friday. Wash your mouth out with soap, John. We will cover that when we come back to the Londons. Right, I feel like we'll just start going through the card. We'll try and remind me about some of those questions that came in there. But Friday, we've obviously got the final decks. We've got jockey bookings. We've done the Colossus preview, so we're pretty much sewn up all the races. First race, that maiden hurdle. I've already mentioned Flint the Sack was in there. From a punting perspective, he's going to be short. From an anti-post perspective, lots of people have already got stuck into him for a Supreme. So he's one of those horses that I would be saying, if you've backed him already, then fair play to you because you've nicked a bit of value. If you're thinking of backing him now, he will shorten if he goes and wins this. But you could have got 25-1 about him about a month ago. He's probably 16s now, I think, maybe top price. So I would be more inclined now to let him go and run at the price that he is and just risk the fact that you might lose a little bit of value. Because if he wins this, he doesn't really deserve to be any shorter than what Fernie Hollow's done. So he's probably going to still be about an 8-1 poke. So you are losing half the price. But there's just a little grey lingering cloud about him for me, whether he's actually going to be as good as we're expecting to be.
You just don't like him. The advice should be, if you like Flint and Sacra, and you think he's definitely going to win this race and he might win it impressively,
you should.
To be fair, he should be doing. Then, and you haven't backed him for the Supreme, back him at 16-1. There's no harm in backing him at 16-1. You don't want to be looking at after this race. Watched him. Let's just say, theoretically that he wins by 8 or 9 lengths going away on the bridle. Like,
but he's been backed well, Daryl. The thing is, this is the problem with it, right? And like again, it's all like into individual stuff. He's 14-1 Betfair Paddy Power top price now. He's 12-1 everywhere else. So I kind of feel like his price has already shortened up enough, like he's already bloody won the race.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. What they're probably doing is they're probably anticipating that he does win.
He's going to.
Sorry, I didn't realise it was into 10-12-1. Where I thought he was still out at 16.
Didn't I? The thing is with him, again, like it's hard because if you're not on him, I'm very like stubborn with stuff. Like I haven't backed him. I'm very price sensitive, and I'd get way too stubborn. I ballsed up on Valtour. I backed the Tullow Tank for the Supreme that year. Valtour turned him over. I had a Valtour on my bet slip at 12-1 for the Supreme just to get some cover. Didn't do it. He stomps the Tullow Tank and refused to back him because 7-2 was too short.
Mate,
about Valtour in a Supreme.
Session, mate.
It feels like it to me.
Get over it, son.
If we go back with him, I'm just going to have a quick look on Oddschecker. I mean, to be fair, he's been 20s for a while, isn't he? So, I mean, he has shortened up a bit. Like, I don't want to put people off of it. If you like him for it, then maybe you're not going to get rich out of backing him on there. I just feel like Nicky Henderson made a comment about him saying, yeah, he is Sprinter Sacred brother and all that sort of stuff. He said, like, you wouldn't think it to watch him work. So that was a little bit of a negative. He did get beat that first day at Newbury where he was keen. That was his first run. So a little bit of a question markish there. I don't think his bumper form has worked out that well, but he probably can be treated in isolation. I'm just not 100% sold on him. And I do actually think in this race there's not a load of competition, but I think there's 1 or 2 horses that could potentially put it to him. So, yeah, I'm sort of on the fence with him for it anyway.
Mate, you ain't going to back him at 1-2. Look, no one in their right mind is going to back him at 1-2 if the tissues are right? So, if you want to have a bet on the Flinter Sacra on Friday, then back him for the Supreme rather than backing him for this race. You've got nothing to lose. It's an anti-post bet, small stakes, big 12-1, whatever. We'd rather do that than lumping at 1-2 first time out, wouldn't you? And if he goes and wins.
I just say leave him. That's my thing with it. I just feel like if he goes and wins, let him go. You've missed it. Like he's not. Because there's only 1 or 2 in here. Like you think how Dusart was good, wasn't he, when he beat Soaring Glory, and Dusart was still like 25-1 for the Supreme after that, and he's still a biggish prize now. I just feel like Flint Sacra, unless he wins this like full blown on the bridle by like 10 lengths. I don't see how he can be shorter than like 8-1 after this race for a Supreme.
No, I see what you're saying, but my point is if they like him, him, then the time to back him would be before this race, regardless of what he does, regardless of whether he goes and wins the Supreme or not. If you want to back him, you don't want to be backing him after he's.
Yeah, I know. I'm just fuss about it because I just feel like people that would have liked Flint Sacra, like when we did the tips for Hacked Up Racing, didn't we? We put some selections in for the festival. You've chucked Flint Sacra in there. I just feel like if you like Flint Sacra enough for the Supreme, you should have already backed him at 20-1 or bigger. And if you've missed out, then like I say, I'm too stubborn to do it. But Daryl's advice is correct. Probably back him. But in saying that, mate, you like him. We've both talked about this. We don't think it's a walkover for him anyway. Can was fairly decent, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I felt Can You Can was about to run up to around 1-2-6, taken into the Shantou Expresses and what Shantou Express has done on the time figures and what he's done on official ratings. Just a combination of things. I felt Can You Can was running up to a fairly decent level before he shipped and unseated his rider at the second last. Whether or not Shantou Express did too much on the front end that day because he has done that previously, and Can You Can was flattered by the way he travelled through the race, and Shantou Express firing late on is another matter. I need to go do the time figures, etc., just on Shantou. But Can You Can was running a fairly decent time for shipping his ride. That was his debut run, and he's entitled to improve for that for a number of reasons. He shouldn't be beating Flint Sacra, but I mean, in terms of form lines, you could argue, okay, I wouldn't, but you could argue that the strongest form line in this race over hurdles is the unseat from Can You Can Can. That's what you could argue for this race. But I'm not, because I think Flinter Sacra is a genuinely a decent, a very good horse. But Can You Can Can definitely the danger, along with My Drago. I think those are the two that you want to be rating this race around, really. My Drago, obviously, a debut over hurdles today, but he did run a very smart time figure from the top of the hill at Cheltenham in that Cheltenham bumper to the finish line. He's only a fraction shy of what the winner did, and he was held up out the back of the field about 8 or 9, 10 lengths off. So he was probably undone by his racing position there, if you like. So he was probably better than the bare result. He just looked like the type that was going to come on for the run as well. He's quite a big, powerful type. So those are the two that should be giving him most to think about. Those are the only two I can see really getting involved in. But we'll see what happens. I mean, even if Flinter Sacra wins this, he's only going to be running up to around 130 anyway. If he let's just say he just wins it by a length or 2 lengths, he's run up to around 130 mark. Nothing that a lot of first time out hurdlers haven't done already.
I think it was Bouvert Dairy sent him in the past, didn't he? Like, it's a race that Nicky Henderson's targeted with nice horses, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the roll of honour for this actual race is ridiculously good. If you go back through the winners, I know Son of Camas won this race last year, but if you forget that, you're looking at the likes of Bright Forecast, Lost in Translation, Jenkins, Bouvert Dairy, Dickman Gravy, decent horses. And Nicky Henderson has sent, I mean, you remember when he fought a lot of Jenkins, didn't he? Really liked him. Welded him. Sent it into this race. He won at odds on. Bouvert Dairy, Different Gravy, and obviously last year Son of Camas. I don't know what that was last year. Maybe he just didn't have anything ready at the time. I don't know. But yeah, he does send these decent ones. He always sends these decent ones to Newbury. So the fact that he's even here, I think, is a decent sign. So, but we've spoken a lot here about an odds-on favourite, I think.
Correct. But I think it's worth, I personally think it was worth us talking like we have done about it, because you look at it, Flinter Sacra, 1-2 poke, getting backed in for the Supreme, like it's a foregone conclusion for everyone that this horse is going to hack up, isn't it? And like, this is not going to happen again, but Shishkin came on his debut, fell. Yeah. Like this, as much as it's it's a decent introduction of a track to go to, it's never a gimme to win a race around Newbury. So that's why if he does go and win it nicely, like, I feel like, although I've played him down a little bit, we're saying the horses that are in there, like if Flinter Sacra does win this on the bridle, then he is a supreme horse, isn't he?
Well, he's virgin on it, yeah. He would.
Speaking of virgin, we'll move on to the second race, which is a novice handicap chase. So these are typically this time of year, you might have had like runs from horses, and then we've got something to get stuck into a little bit. So there might be eye catchers, there might be someone that looks like it needed the run, etc., etc. For me, that doesn't really tick too many boxes for horses in here. I think we both said that we think Zoffy's probably the one to beat.
Yeah, I do. I think 4-year-old getting the allowances. I think he's made a bright start over fences. Obviously behind Getaway Trump. We'll take that form 2 literally. Getaway Trump probably needs the run, and then he disappoints next time out on a quick turnaround. And then I liked his attitude at Exeter. Stiff track at Exeter. He really battled on game. He beat Dorking Boy. Now Dorking Boy let it fall down the next time out, but I don't think Zoffy's done anything wrong, and I think his handicap number 132 is very exploitable, very workable for him. Like I say, gets a 4-year-old allowance. A few of these are not the best jumpers, like Stardura. I think if he's going off the front end with Editor the Gee, I think they could put a bit of pressure on his rivals' jumping, and I think that's what's going to be needed here. I think Zoffy, good ground, handles the ground. He'll have no problem around here. He's a fast little thing. Yeah, and I just think he's got a fantastic chance. Editor the Geek is a bit of an unknown. He's a bit frustrating. Every time he's entered into a race, it annoys me a little bit because I don't really know enough about him. His form over in France was average at best, although he did have Espada Guy, who is now a 150 horse, like in 4th behind him at Compagnon. I wouldn't take that literally, but yeah, he was quite impressive with his jumping at Ascot last time. Obviously beaten by Sally Dock. That was over 2.25 miles. Drop back to 2 miles today should really suit him. Like I say, he's a bit of an unknown. He's had loads of entries as well, and they keep scrapping them. So it's almost like they're trying to pinpoint where they want to put him. They're the two that really interest me. In terms of this race, Anamoy and Franciere, they met last time at Chepstow. And Fanny and Destroval actually won this race last year for the same owner connections. He's open to plenty of improvement, but he's set really slow fractions on the front end of Chepstow. And Financier is probably worth upgrading, given he was held up for most of the race. Animal just, I don't know, he just got a little bit outpaced, jumping in the second last and then battled on again. It was a good attitude, but it was just a really slowly run-of-the-mill race. There was a lot of horses in there you could upgrade from the rear of the field. So he might be a little bit flattered. He's up another £3, 136. He's, like you say, he's unexposed, but I'm not entirely sure about him yet.
Yeah, fair enough. And although we can't bet with these bookmaker, William Hill have chalked up this race. They've got Zoffy in at 11-2. So that's the sort of, I'd be saying that's more than a fair price about him. They've put Heritage in as fav. Now, when I went to Paul Nicholls a while back, he told me Heritage suffers from loft syndrome, which Ruby Walsh kindly confirmed to him in the first place about it. You may ask, what is loft syndrome? Lack of fucking talent is what Paul Nicholls said.
Danny Wisbang suffers with it as well.
Oh, mate, probably. But the thing is, this horse is 1 from 1 over fences. Maybe a little bit fortunate because the only challenger near him fell. We know with Paul Nicholls, his horses come on loads for it. This horse did promise a lot more. So you can half see why he's fav, because he's Paul Nicholls, all that sort of stuff, ticks the boxes in that front, but he's probably short enough. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran well. Zoffy's still the one to beat. Scardura, right? I know he falls over a lot. He's not quite in the level of Master Tommy Tucker that if he stands up, he definitely wins. But quick turnaround, only ran 8 days ago. He could be a player, and he's about 10-1 poke as well. I think, like me and Daryl have said, Zoffy's probably the one to be on. At those prices, he's probably the one to be on.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You shouldn't probably take it literally, but there's a form line through Golden Toe fan that says that Zoffy's got a beating of Heritage. You know what I mean? They've got.
The other thing with Heritage ran here over hurdles, didn't he? When Brinkley, David Pipe, Brocade racing horse. We were funny talking about that in the WhatsApp group earlier.
Yeah.
Heritage ran so badly here, and he had a breathing problem. He's had the wind up, but again, I've mentioned it in the first place. Newbury's, although it's flat and it just goes round, some horses don't like Newbury, so maybe that could be the same with him. I think Scardura is probably a bit of a big price, but then you're probably betting 10-1 for him to get round, and then he might still not win it. But anyway, we've waffled that too much. Zoffy's the play at 11-2 if that price holds up, I think.
Unless you want Faller's insurance on Scardura.
Oh, yeah, true. At least you get your money back every time it runs.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a pretty tasty looking Novices hurdle after this, haven't we? The 115, 2.5 miler. It's kind of like a mini shallow hurdle in the fact that it's the same distance, and Brave Man's Game, Paul Nicholls has said in his blog, he will be going for the shallow hurdle. I think it's going to be like a tight little race. The Racing Post tissue at the moment is 2-1 Bothwell Bridge, 9 game, 5-2 Real Stone. And I think we've both, when we looked at it, we haven't both, we disagreed on this, but I think it is between that trio. Brave Man's Game's got the form on the table, but I think he could be a nice one because he promised lots in the bumpers and he never delivered. I just wonder with horses like that I don't know, he's going to hit a ceiling and he's not going to turn into like a shallow hurdle winner. Real Stone was hard to judge how good that last one was, because if you try and take it a bit more literally, he's beaten horses and his performance probably entitles into a mark of in the 130s as well. And Danny Kirwan's a weird one because we've said it, haven't we, that does he even want to run and that sort of stuff? And then he went and beat Time Fly By after, which then makes you think, actually, was it that good a run? But he was a 50-1 poke on debut. You'd think the Skeltons, being a punting yard, would have backed him if they fancied him. And that was on soft ground, but his mum likes good ground, so I don't know, you can make a bit of a case for him. Bothwell Bridge you hate, but I think Bothwell Bridge you could give a chance to. Wouldn't be a punting race for me, but I think you like one, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I texted you earlier in the week, didn't I? I did the time figures for their Real Stone race at Aintree, and I texted you during the week and said, got to back this next time it runs because it ran whatever the figures were. I actually got those figures wrong, and then I'll let you know about it. But he was still quicker 4 hours to the finish than Strong Glance was in the comparison race on the same card at Aintree. The fact that they went such a slow circuit time, I mean, if you look at their circuit times, he was like 1.67. Was he? Let's have a look. No, he was like 3 seconds slower than the handicap hurdle, where Strong Glance finished second. So he was 3 seconds slower than that. So the race as a whole was actually running a very slow time. Now, he was held up at the back of the field, and he's a big old unit. But the fact that he managed to run 4 out to the finish line, which is quite a fair distance, from a hold-up position and win going away in that race and clock a faster time than Strong Glance, suggests that he could be pretty useful going forward. Now, obviously, he's expected to run a bit of a quicker time than Strong Glance because he hasn't gone faster throughout the whole circuit. But he just looked like he had a ton to come. And the fact that he went off at 50-1 means that it was a bit of a surprise. Now, you can take two views on that. You can take a view that the race was absolutely crap, or you can take a view of, bloody hell, we didn't expect that from him. The amount of horses that don't show much at high, or they thought he might need the run and come on a bit more. There's loads of little gossip circles that goes on. So the fact that he might run just might mean he might be more forward than I actually thought he was, which is, in hindsight, is then a bloody good sign. And he's coming into this race. He is fit and well, and he just looked half decent. And I'm worried that he might look a bit slow. I'm worried that if he clips one or he knocks one down, a hurdle down the home straight when things are really heating up, has he got that turn of foot to get back involved in that latter stages? I'm not so sure, but he should be a shorter price than Bothwell Bridge, and I'll tell you why. Bothwell Bridge at on his last start at Warwick. Okay, he won by 6 lengths. Everybody was raving about him, saying he looks really, really good, right? He played the 2 races side by side. I compared it to a 0-115 handicap, where I actually had one of my knacks running in. Yeah, can you believe it? 0-115. Played it side by side, and Bothwell Bridge was slower than Sorbet in a circuit time, who's rated 113. Now, the reason I took it from the second and not the winner is because the winner is Canopolis. Now, Canopolis has been on my radar for a long time. He's unexposed. We don't quite know what he's got. We know where we are with Sorbet. 113. That's it. Exposed as you like, right? Probably can win off that mark. But ran the same circuit time and was slower from 3 out to the finish line. So while some of these horses can win by 6 or 7 lengths, you need a comparative with them. And just by doing that, you can see that all of a sudden he's actually not achieved as much as everybody's raving on about achieving. Now, don't get me wrong, he could still win this. He could take a step forward, but he's going to need to take a step forward, given that I've got him rated about 117. And Brave Man's Game is, for me, rated around 130. So the difference there, he's going to need to take a big step forward. I could be completely wrong here. I'm not normally wrong, Dave, am I? I could be completely wrong here, but we'll find out sooner or later. But I just think Brave Man's Game is so far ahead of what Bothwell Bridges has achieved. The fact that they've tissued him up 2-1 Bothwell Bridge and 9-4 Brave Man's Game is just completely wrong to me. And I think Real Stone is the lively danger, the lively outsider if you're on Brave Man's Game.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Those tissue prices we've talked about there, obviously, they're not always accurate. Most of the time, they're well off. But Brave Man's Game deserves to be favourite. And I agree. I think Real Stone is probably the most likely danger. But we're judging that on the basis of one run, all that sort of thing. Like it may just be too good to be true, that run. So Brave Man's Game is a solid selection in there. I worry that he's actually going to be like a 5-4, 6-4 poke. And then at that point, you're not really too interested in it. Sit back, watch it. But it will be a form guide for the Channel Hurdle near Christmas time. Then we've got the Grade 2 Novices Chase after. Only 3 runners, obviously disappointing in there. I feel like we should try and get through this one quickly because Getaway Trump, does anyone know what he wants to do on a given day? Nope. Fiddler on the Roof, I didn't like the fact that Edward Stone did him for toe on good ground, so I worry about him on how quick this service is going to be. And does Fiddler on the Roof really want it? I don't know. And then Caribbean Boy ran once on good in France, was woeful. One for Nicky Henderson on heavy ground. I'd be surprised if he even lines up, to be honest. So just looks an absolute horror show. I couldn't bet in it, but Getaway Trump, the outsider of the 3, probably... If someone forced me to have a selection, I'd probably put Trump up. That shows you how bad it is, surely. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, the same here, really. I don't know what William Hill are doing. Do you? 5 to 6. William Hill gone 5 to 6, Fiddler on the Roof, 15 to 8, Caribbean Boy, and 4 to 1, Getaway Trump.
And Getaway Trump ran so close behind Champ in that shallow.
I know, and they wonder why people can't keep it counts with William Hill. Because they keep offering up beauties like that. 4 to 1. God.
This Caribbean Boy, I think we're both in agreement, should be the outsider of the trio, shouldn't he?
Yeah, on this ground he should. Yeah, definitely. With that knee action. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. We clearly think he's a useful horse. But conditions aren't right. He's returning from. He's coming up against 2 race fit horses. He's not got the ground that he wants. Like, how do you ever put him in as a 15 to 8 second favourite? Surely you put him in as 3 to 1 outsider, don't you? How do you have getaway champion as 15 to 8? You swap them 2 around. 100%.
Nicky Henderson, though, isn't it? Nicky Henderson, Munir Suede, one last out. They just look at it.
That's half the problem. That's half the problem when you bookmakers look at William Hill. I'm not slapping William Hill off just goes over to work for him. But I'm just saying, like that's the problem when they go a lot of it is on the trainer or on the jockey booking rather than actually what the horse wants itself. You know, what's going to make the horse run faster? So that's what they need to be looking at rather than who they're trained by, etc. 225, Dave.
Superb, yeah. Handicap chase. We think that we both think this looks fairly competitive, so I wouldn't have a strong opinion in it. I like Sully Dock. Obviously, put him up at Ascot last time. He won. £10 hike probably might stop him, but he won in France on good ground. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be following up on him. Sam Benedetto last one off a 147 over course and distance. He's an okayish price as well, but I don't know. Looks probably too competitive for me to actually probably have a bet in it. I'd take them 2 against the field. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's really, really competitive, to be honest. You can make a case for nearly every runner in this field, depending which way you want to look at it. I mean, I do like Sully Dock. I think he's probably got a little bit more to come. He's pretty unexposed. He's not had that many runs over fences, and that was quite impressive when beating Editor de Geet. Although, I mean, if Editor de Geet goes in there, goes and wins earlier in the card, you can see him being well supported. Old Grange Wood is just rock solid here. I think he's won two of the last 3 years, off 145 and then off 135 last year. Back up to 147 now, 4 figures at Newbury, a 1-1 pulled up 4. And he ran a cracker off this mark in the plate at the festival behind Simply the Bets. That form is rock solid, really. And then he returned with an excellent 4th in the old Ronan entry. Just faded late on after a mistake at the second last or the final fence, one of the 2. Final fence, I think. Just tired. This has probably been the target for him again, I would have thought. I think he's rock solid at the top of the market. There are a couple down at the bottom, though. Count Mirabelle was really well fancied in the morning at Ascot last time, reappearance before he unseated. Then he drifted before the off, and I just think that was a bit of fluff money, really. I don't think there was any serious money on that horse at that day. He's entitled to go well here. He's back on good ground for the first time in a long time, and I didn't fancy him at Ascot because of the soft ground and the trip, but back down in trip 2 mile 4 and back on good ground. Last time he had good ground, he actually beat LeBroy at Cheltenham. So, he's off a mark of 137, off a mark of 142, sorry. He's definitely got a chance back on this good ground. What's wrong with you is the other horse I do like in there, Nicky Henderson. He's been off a long time, 258 days. But he does go really well here at Newbury. He won 2 novice hurdles here. He was travelling really well in Jim Joel over 2 miles before sprawling out 3 out and landing. Looking to pull clear with Magic Saint and Bundoran that day. Magic Saint's £12 higher. Bundoran went up to a mark of 160. He's now £6 higher still. And he's £5 lower. So he's got to have a good chance. He goes well fresh. I'm just a slight concern about the trip. If this was over 2 miles, I think I'd be pretty keen on him. But but you can literally make a case for 9 or 10 of the runners in here. Well, nearly all of the runners, to be honest with you, 11 of them. But so I probably won't be getting too involved unless I go any deeper than already have gone, which is probably unlikely now. Yeah,
it's proper handicapping it. Races like that, like they do your head in because you like to be able to pick the bones of them and like to try and find the winner in there. But I just class it proper handicap. It was like the Stayers one at Haydock on the weekend, wasn't it? Like you could make a case for so many runners in the race. It's relatively punty if they go and win. The frustrating thing with that Stayersy one was Warlord was an interesting one, wasn't it? Was the 2 mile 3, and then obviously Main Fat, the one that's racked up a sequence, goes and wins the other one. They're always ones that you like in hindsight after the results come in, you look at it and go, God, I should have backed that. So
especially when Warlord was in your tracker from the last race, saying he's the one to take out of this race.
Never. It gets simpler after though. Long distance hurdle. Like honestly, this is like I love the Hennessy. I love the fact that Whizband's going to get run for money. That's about as good as I'll get. As long as he gets over the first, I'll be happy. this is the best race of the weekend, and that's including all the stuff in Ireland, as far as I'm concerned, because regardless of the actual official ratings, the penalties and all that sort of stuff, that is not obviously a Grade 1. We're talking about like proper Cheltenham stairs hurdle horses going against each other. We've got Paisley Park that should have won it last year, Lisnagar Oster that did win it, Somerville Boy that's run really well, shouldn't have been able to win at Aintree on a flat track and went and did it there. So maybe he's sort of coming of age now. Time Hill, the Albert Bartlett would have won that without the trouble, we think. McFabulous, almost like the new kid on the block who's the same age as Time Hill. Obviously, got Sam Spinner in there as well that a couple of years ago probably would have won a stayers if it had got off in front and been ridden properly. Like, it's a fairly deep race without looking like on figures that it's that much. I'm massively of the standpoint that Paisley Park is just so much better than everything else in this field. And I don't care about the heart issue, because she said afterwards that he would have been fit to run at Punchestown. Obviously, it's got to be slightly in the back of your mind, but when you don't know about stuff like that, you have to just forget about it. You just wait until you're proven. And if he does underwhelm here, it doesn't necessarily mean it's because of the heart. People will probably play down his performance if he does get beat. But I still think he's the best horse for the Stayers Hurdle in March. I have no excuses for him on Friday. So the long and the short of what I'm saying is I fully expect Paisley Park to win on Friday. I'd rather back him for the Stayers Hurdle. Well, I thought that because he was opened up about 6-4 poke. I see Betfair went up to 5-2 on him today, or 9-4. Like, he's getting to the point where I'm going to have to back him on Friday because he's too big a price. McFabulous is getting loads of money coming in. I'd have no excuses. If Paisley Park ran like a good second, I wouldn't fancy him for the Stayers anymore. He should be winning here. I don't think Newbury's like his absolute favourite track, but there's no crowds there, anything like that. I think Emma Lavelle was slightly worried about him going back to a racecourse and whether that brings back the worry and the stress to him. So the fact that we're in lockdown and there's no one at the racetrack can only be like an extra added safety blanket for Paisley Park there. Things might change on his mind when he actually gets on the racecourse, but he had the gallop, he was fine there. Like, I honestly just think this horse is just so far ahead that he's going to win. Now, I say all of that. If he went and won this race and he, like, say he beat McFabulous by half a length, then of course McFabulous, Time Hill, those are the sort of horses that could potentially progress past him as the season goes on. But as it stands right now, I have no excuses for Paisley Park. Paisley Park should, by any stretch of the imagination, Paisley Park should win this race. So, as like I'm saying, if Paisley Park doesn't win this race, then you need to maybe forget about him. That might sound harsh, but I think you should. Wins though, didn't he? Surely.
You've got it much more clearer in your head than I have in mine, I'll tell you that much. I think McFabulous is getting too short now, though. If you look at the face of it, and you could say reasons why he won't win, well, he's never run over the trip before, he's never run in this grade of company before. There's lots of reasons why he shouldn't be a 9-4 shot, that's for sure.
Well, he did run in a Grade 2 over hurdles, and that was when he got beaten 15 lengths by Master Debonair, and they couldn't get him wide around.
That was windy. Time Flies By was in third. Ribble Valley was in second. Didn't run his race, clearly. That's windiest Grade 2 you'll ever see.
Oh, yeah. It's the fact he ran it was so bad in it. I'm just trying to knock him.
I know it. No, look, I love this performance as well as everybody else did at Chepstow, but you've got to put it into a little bit of context here, right? He could really be anything, and he really could, right? But he's unproven at the trip. He's unproven. He's only beaten Court Bold by 3 lengths. Like, do you know what I mean? Look, let's put this. He's up against 160 horses here. Let's put it in a bit of context. 9-4 is far too short. He could well be the up and coming next big thing. And I hope he is, for the sake of the sport and for viewers, fans, and everything. But I can't. But how could you? Look, let's just put it in perspective. Yeah, Sam Spinner, right? 18-1 shot in here. I know it was poor run at Wetherby last time. I know he was injured at the end of last season, etc., which probably explains his price. But for Christ's sake, he was only beaten by 2 3/4 lengths by Paisley Park in a Grade 1 Stayers Hurdle. He's 18-1, and McFabulous, who won the Persian War by 3 lengths, beating Court Bold, the summer horse. It's 9-4. It's absolutely balmy when you look at it,
isn't it?
Like,
the mental thing is,
no way he should be shorter than Somerville Boy or Time Hill.
Well, no, and the problem is he's actually going to probably end up going off favourite, so he'll be shorter than Paisley Park, which is
ludicrous.
Like last year's win, like it is ludicrous. The mental thing is, like I touched on with the Flint to Sacra thing from an anti-post perspective, because that was one of the questions that came up about backing him for the stayers. After he won the Persian War, that was maybe the time to try and get stuck into him, and he shortened up quite a bit. Potentially before that race was maybe the time to back him for the stayers, because they said that was the route they're going to go down with him. I don't know. Like, I know Paul Nicholls wants to win races this season. We all know that Paul Nicholls does better over fences. Yes, I know Big Buck was the best staying hurdler that we'll ever see, but that wasn't by design. It's because he was a failed chaser. I half feel like with McFabulous, they've just seen a good opportunity off of his, like, to win the Persian War, and then just let's just see how far we can go with him over hurdles. They're not saying for definite that he's going to be a stayers hurdles. They're just saying let's see how far we can go with it. If you go back through the history of horses that win the Persian War, for example, Time Hill was still a novice and he obviously went around well at Cheltenham. You got things like Secret Investor there, Paul Nicholls runs him in there. He's going to be going in a Hennessy. Poetic Rhythm for Fergal O'Brien. Like Black Lions in there. Silvianco Conti, obviously, for Nicholls, but did everything over fences. Like, it's not typically a race that you'd look at and think, yep, Stayers Hurdle winner's running in there. Oh. And I know that sounds bad because we've got Time Hill in there. He's another Persian War like winner. But he's balmy short. And I know the confidence is probably a good thing for everybody else. But from an anti-post perspective as well, the biggest price you can get on him is 12 to 1. He's as short as 9 to 1 in places. I think the sad reality is if he does win this race and he beats Paisley Park, he probably goes like 4 or 5 to 1 favourite, isn't he? So I would... Yeah. My hesitation with him, as much as I wouldn't want to back him, is now the price has got so short for Friday, back him for the stayers, because he could get beat by Paisley and potentially progress past him. So your stayers hurdle bet stays live, rather than back him at the 5 to 2. But then if you back him at 5 to 2, he wins and he goes down to 4 to 1. You'd still get better value than back him anti-post. I mean, that's more geared around the question that was asked before. Personally, if I was going to be interested in McFabulous, and I know it's hindsight, but I would have backed him at the beginning of the season when I knew that he was going to go Persian War and Stayers Hurdle at 33s. Doesn't mean you should avoid him now at the price that he is. I don't know. I don't think he warrants being 5 to 2 for this race. I don't think he warrants being as short as 9 to 1 for a Stayers Hurdle. But
absolutely not. Do you know we don't back in the race?
But he could. There's no disagreement from anyone in the whole entire world. I don't think he could progress into something quite nice. We just don't know enough about him yet, do we? One run with basing on.
No, exactly. I'm going to back someone rated. I'm going to back a horse rated lower than McFabulous, though.
Is there anyone rated lower than McFabulous? Oh, of course. You're going to back Vision to Flow.
No, I'm going to back on his Vic. But the difference is he's actually getting £3 from McFabulous, which puts him on level terms, and he's 18 to 1, and he's proven over 3 miles.
And Locks Corner's backed it up.
And he was giving Locks Corner, what was he giving him, £8? And Locks Corner was definitely £10 well in. So I'm going to back Honest Vic and hope that Honest Vic can take the step forward into grading company. But look, you can't have a go at me for backing Honest Vic. He's 18 to 1. And I can make more of a case for him than I can for McFabulous. That's for sure. So we'll be backing him. I do like Time Hill. And I am watching his price creep in a little bit. I do like him.
Newbury. I know he won the Challow, but that Castleman run, I know Enrillo was miles behind, but Time Hill's worst performance last season was in winning the Challow Hurdle for me.
Mate, the Cashman's going to win later on the card, so don't worry about
that. Maybe.
Look, I do really like Time Hill. Whether or not I'm quite convinced it's for this race or not, I'm not entirely sure yet. I think Time Hill for the Stayers Hurdle. I'm already on him. I think he's got a fantastic chance.
Agreed.
But whether or not he's going to be ready first time up for this with the cloud over the yard and that at the moment, I'm not sure. I hope he runs really well. I probably will back him on the day. To be fair, I probably will not be able to stop myself.
I think because he was going to run in the West Yorkshire Hurdle or whatever it is, wasn't he? And he didn't even get declared for that. So whether because the stable wasn't going so well, they held him back, but then they ran things like Sporting John and Deffy. I don't know. like I feel like with Time Hill, they're just, and I like this with Stayers Hurdle horses as well. They're just taking their time. They're just waiting until everything seems right. And like they're not like Goshen, where he's just swerving horses left, right, and centre. They put him into the hardest possible test for his first run in this sort of company, like back in Open Company. But I'm sure they're fully aware that he doesn't need to win this race. He could run a good fourth, and he'd still be the best horse at the end of the season. I just, Paisley Park has to be winning this, and I don't care what anyone's saying about that. Oh, are they going to push him because of his heart and all that sort of stuff? Like, if they had any doubt about his physical well-being, he's worn a heart monitor at home like the whole time after. If they had any worry about his physical well-being, then they wouldn't be running him, simply because the Paisley Park that we all know and love hits a flat spot in his race. So if you're worried when he hits a flat spot, oh God, it could be his heart. Well, you can't ever race Paisley Park again, can you? And he didn't hit the flat spot in this race last year when Thistlecrap was there. I think he's got enough of a buffer in his class and all that sort of stuff I think that Paisley should be winning this. There's no excuse for Paisley for me. And I know the opinion from Matey Boy that I'm not going to block. I'll let you stay on, John. But saying that Paisley Park should be a lay. You were bang on. When he was 6-4, he probably was a lay because he's going off at a bigger price. But I wouldn't be taking 2 to 5 about Paisley Park getting beat in this race. I'd rather be backing him the fact that he's out to 5-2 now. I think you'd be mad to be as confident as I am after he got beaten Cheltenham doing what he did with his heart, as you would be to say that, off that run, write him off completely, he needs to be gone. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, I'm not. Paisley Park wins, right? Let's just forget it. Paisley Park wins. It's pointless. How have we spent so long talking about it when bloody McFucking...
I haven't. You have.
153 rated McFabulous is the same fucking price as Paisley Park. A stone better. A Stayers Hurdle winner. Oh, it's obscene. It's do you know what? It's offensive is what it is.
I'll tell you what, you're going to have a hell of a weekend if Paisley and Danny Wisbane goes in.
Fuck, imagine Danny Wisbane goes in. Fuck Paisley. So the handicap hurdle. Look, guys, I know I said, if you waited this long, then you've done well. I know we said we'll cover Saturday. We'll leave this as Friday. We'll do something separate for Saturday. No one's watching anyway. But the handicap hurdle, oh man, I feel bad for forgetting the name. Richard, that's it, Richard Shaw. You asked and mentioned about Coeur de Lion here. Mate, you've made like a seriously valid point about this horse. I just don't really like Alan King as a trainer. I don't trust when he's going to do stuff with his horses. And I also am not sure about Coeur de Lion just as a consistent horse, full stop. I feel like he throws in way too many bad runs in there. Like ground should suit, all those bits and pieces. I can definitely see the case for it.
You think the ground should suit?
Well, I think he goes on anything, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought his best form came on heavy ground. And to be honest, I would be slightly concerned about 3 miles. He doesn't scream like he wants 3 miles to me.
Exactly.
Some of his efforts have been a bit weak.
He's probably
maybe good ground and 3 miles might work in a combination, but I couldn't have it personally.
But he's probably about the right price, do you reckon? Just to be nice to Richard.
It could be any fucking price. I ain't backing him.
To be fair though, Richard is a judge, so when
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, from my perspective, the way I would look at the race personally, and that's not always the right way, of course, is I would just think that 3 miles for me. I don't know. When I watched back, do you know what? I read his question earlier, and I watched back a few of his runs before this. It just, to be honest, he looks a little bit tripless to me. So that would just be my concern there. At Kempton, he was over 2 miles 5. He was just weakening away. That was on good to soft ground. Again, over at Newbury on soft ground, that was a concern. I don't know. It's strange. It's a strange one because he runs over 2 miles on the flat. You would think that a step up to 3 miles should really suit him, but just his running style for me didn't really scream that he wants it. Good luck to you, everyone. He's only a 7-year-old. He's got time to improve yet. Alan King is a decent trainer, no matter what Dave says.
Yeah. But I cannot trust a word the man says, and I just like when he's got horses lined up for stuff like that, bits and pieces. I feel like these horses are so inconsistent that it's just I don't know. Don't want to like single anybody out and say anything about him, but it just makes me worry whether he even knows what's going on in his yard. But hey ho, I won't be getting invited back there, will I? Hill 16 is £10 well in. So on that basis, he's a 5 to 2 fav. That's normally like the golden rule in it. If they're well in, thrown in, they're about-ish that sort of price. Like you can't want to back him, but he's about that price for a reason. The Casual Man, we mentioned it, haven't we? I still think it's worth mentioning him again, because if Time Hill does run well, like I know it doesn't quite work out in like specifically the same races and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely nothing to do with it.
But the Casual Man's performance in the Challow Hurdle, I would say, was a good performance from him, and it was a bad performance from Time Hill, in the fact that there's £10 split in the pair of them, and there was, half a length or something between the two. Now, Nico doesn't ride.
Nico never rides.
Does he not?
Never.
Oh, that's why
always rides.
That's why he got so close to the Time Hill, then, isn't it? Oh, flappy hand. Oh, so there you go then. Nice. Well, that's just a little funny moment. Like, I'm not sure whether he wants this trip, but like off of 143 now for him, that run when he ran close to Time Hill wasn't obviously a handicap, but was off of 143. Like his mark's gone up a bit too far for before. Like I'd be more interested in him at 12 to 1 than Coeur de Leon, but I mean, I wouldn't really be back in the race. What about Del Arca? We need to mention him because the guy's mugged us off left, right, and centre, isn't he?
God, that horse, mate. Christ. But let me just touch on Shaman quickly. Yeah, he was very good, the two runs he ran here, to be fair. But since then, he's been absolutely woeful. He was actually beaten at Bangor and got reversal on the result. And then since then, like he was 11th for 19 in the Albert Barlow, which wasn't a bad run, to be fair. But his 2 runs, I don't know why they sent him over fences. He's just a head case. Yeah. I don't know why you would get him to jump a fence. And then at Kempton, he was held up and he started to make headway around the side of the field, clattered a fence, and it was just like down tools, just couldn't be bothered. I think he's got something wrong with him in the head. But back at Newbury, you just never know with these courses, do you? Right, sorry, who did you say? Del Arca?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even feel Del Arca is worth mentioning, other than the fact that we both knew that he was like well.
We missed the boat.
And we backed him, and then he ran pants after, and then we felt, do you know what we've done? We're such good punters because we've given up on him after he's shown that he's not good enough anymore. We've got it right, and then bang, double, 2 on the spin. Are we missing a trick with this Hill 16 though? 7-year-old, first run for Nigel Twiston Davis, apps like it was. Actually wants to make me feel sick even just think about it now. How comfortable this horse hacked up. He has got form on quicker ground. He's absolutely thrown in. Like, why are we not steaming into this horse at 5 to 2?
To be honest, it's getting like that way with this race for me today. The only concern is one, the price is a little bit too good to be true.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, he's £10 well in. He showed plenty. Honestly, this horse showed plenty of signs of ability a year or 2 ago, and it could just be the fact that he's returned. He's matured a bit now, but you know the negatives are that he's up in grey. It's a 9-day quick turnaround, and he's got faster ground to contend with, and he's over hurdles.
Yeah, but he's 11 to 4 with Denise at Bet365. Like that's. Like I feel like in my heart of hearts, just any horse that's £10 well in almost feels like an auto bet. But this horse, like even being £10 well in, I think is offensive. Like I think that's underestimating him.
Yeah, probably it probably is, because if you go back to his form over made a novice hurdles, you know, he was pretty decent. I remember tracking this horse right after his run at Uttoxeter last year, right, and waiting and backing him, waiting for soft ground and backing him, and I just didn't get it. And I jumped off him at Sedgefield, backed something else, and he didn't piss out. He won by half a length, but he got his nose in front of the mark for 117. And I knew that this horse had a little bit about him, you know what I mean? I think
is that probably on the ground?
No, it's more about the quick turnaround for me, because it was heavy ground at Foster when he won. I know he did it very, very easily, but you never really know how much it takes out of him, do you? on a quick turnaround. I might just take a chance, to be honest with you, because I don't really like anything else in the race. So I might just take a chance on him. And the fact that I wonder what the stats are if you just back blindly every horse that was due to go up £10 next time out.
Profit, I'd imagine, is the answer.
Yeah.
Well, you get lots of horses, like there's different ones in there. Like, it depends in the competitive nature of the race. Obviously, the more competitive it is, the better price you get. But you look at the Jam Man, when he went on that big handicap, the Troy Town in Ireland, he was just like a full stone well in on his hurdle mark to his chase thing, and he's better over fences anyway. And you could still get like 6 or 7 to 1 about him. Then you get other horses that aren't technically even well in yet. We're just assuming they're going to be better horses. They're going off at like 5 to 4, 6 to 4, and you think to yourself, like, which one should I be backing? Something like this Hill 16, where like physically on paper he is thrown in. I agree with you on the quick turnaround; it's a bit of a worry, but I don't know. I would think if
there are things though. Like, he's up to 3 miles now, for instance. He's on faster ground. You know, he's up in grade. There are. I know he's £10 well in, right? But he's £10 well in on his Foss/Chase win over 2.5 miles on heavy ground.
And fences.
And fences, yeah. That's what I mean. And now he's back over hurdles on fast ground, up to 3 miles, up in grade, and a quick turnaround. So that's probably the reason for the price, to be fair. But there are genuine. I don't mind it though. I don't mind it with horses like this when they come back from it, like on seasonal return, and all of a sudden over the summer they've done well and they've improved. They might be fitter, they might be bigger, they might be stronger. There are reasons. It's when horses normally just win out of the blue. Let's say they've had 3 or 4 runs, then all of a sudden they bolt up by 10 lengths, and then all of a sudden they're due to go up £10. I always think, well, what was he doing for his last 2 or 3 runs then? How can he? But with this, I do like the fact that he's had a summer on his back and he's come to a new trainer and they've improved him. So I do like that angle. And to be honest with you, if he's around 5 to 2, 11 to 4, come 9 a.m. Friday, then I'm probably just going to back him just for the sake of the price anyway. Because I don't think anything else in here is worthy of that much for consideration. You've got to really forgive everything their last couple of runs or whatever.
I think if you got 4 of these that were £10 well in, even with the quick turnaround, all that sort of stuff, I think if you got 4 of them, you're going to get a winner out of it. Value-wise, we'll do it. So I think best summary. There's no way anyone's still watching now. If you are, thumbs up, subscribe, send us a smiley face in the comments. I feel like the summary should be: we both agree that Zoffy's got to be a bet. 11 to 2 sounds more than generous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or that it wouldn't be anywhere near a max bet because there are obviously other horses in there. There's competitiveness or whatever, but he's priced accordingly, and I feel like that's a bit of value. We both agree that probably this Hill 16 needs to be bet just because he's too big. You could see a case for why he could be a lot shorter. So again, potentially like values of, it's obviously a very dirty word to use, but I feel like you'd be silly not to stick a score on him, even if you fancy Coeur de Leon at 12s for a bit of cover or whatever. And then I feel like, as much as I poo-pooed him a little bit, Brave Man's Game, if the tissue is anywhere near right, like this horse should be 6 to 4 for this race, I think. If you could get anything 2 to 1 plus Brave Man's Game, would we say that's another punt?
It depended on the price of Real Stone, but yeah, I think so.
So there we go.
I wasn't overly confident then. I know I wasn't overly confident, but yeah, I do think Brave Man's Game, but I have got a slight niggling feeling about Real Stone as well. So a little bit undecided there, so I apologise.
But we'd hopefully, like I say, that's where like the price point sort of comes in, doesn't it? Like, I feel like he should be about 6 to 4-ish poke. I'd like to think we'd get bigger than 2 to 1 about him, but I can't be too brash because he's had a couple of runs. Like, I think he's exposed enough for us to know that we ain't going to be getting like 5 to 2, 3 to 1 about him. I would think that I'd play him at 2 to 1 plus. Of those 3 on the Friday,
might just like Boffle. Yeah, Boffle.
Oh yeah, you went to late Boffle. But I feel like of those 3, this is why it's so important for me, because you don't do many like multiples, do you? Or very rarely?
Very rarely. I mean, for the festival, yeah, but not on a daily basis. No.
But like a Friday thing here, even if say game was a 2 to 1 poke bet, you've got him at 2 to 1, you've got Hill 16 at 11 to 4, you've got Zoffy at 11 to 2. I'd be disappointed if one of those didn't win. And playing by singles, you're doing all right. If you end up putting him in a payment, then all of a sudden one winner doesn't even get your money back you're mugging yourself off. So basically, back singles, they're the ones we quite like so far. Saturday, we'll do another piece for that if anyone's watched or anyone's interested. Yeah, I think we're done, aren't we?